Whoops. JeffCo says it messed up tax bills. Now homeowners have to pay.
It's been a comedy of unfortunate errors.
Democrats want to help fund migrant services outside Denver, as Republicans at the Capitol suggest that migrants could carry out another 9/11-style terror attack. A case before the Supreme Court today could impact how Denver and other cities handle homelessness. That slight breeze you felt was 13,000 ladybugs making their Earth Day escape.
I see its wings!
And a milestone for the once troubled train that we used to ride just about every day, so to speak, right here on Next. A missed email almost cost Jefferson County more than $500,000, but they found it, and now taxpayers are being told to find that money. In a year when property taxes are already soaring, our Mark Salinger looks into the mistake that'll have thousands of people paying even more.
The printers in Jefferson County are working overtime as letters of apology hit the mail.
On behalf of the Jefferson County budget staff, please accept my sincere apologies for this error.
Jerry DiTullio didn't write the letter or make the mistake that makes the letters necessary.
Rest assured, the root cause of this error has been isolated.
But as the treasurer in Jefferson County, his office is now charged with asking around 6,500 households to pay even more money on their property tax bill.
It's been a comedy of unfortunate errors.
This error started when someone in the Budget and Finance Department missed an email. That missed message left 4 special districts off of thousands of property tax bills.
This is a copy of a property tax bill. The ones listed in the letter, they'd have been just right here.
Meaning people actually owed more money than they were told to pay.
On your property tax bill, these are your special districts that provide services to your neighborhood and to your area.
4 water and sanitation districts headquartered here in Lakewood were missing out on hundreds of thousands of dollars in tax money because of the error.
We started hearing from the special districts who weren't receiving any money on their property tax collections and distributions, so we looked into it and we found that 4 of them were missing.
Now taxpayers are getting that apology letter in the mail saying, sorry, but we need some more of your money.
The average has been about $100 per property tax bill. And it's been confusing and frustrating for taxpayers, for the Treasurer's Department, and everybody else.
So I personally had no idea that sometimes whether or not something gets on your property tax bill is decided by whether or not someone opens up an email. I am told, though, in Jefferson County that is now changing. They're creating an online system for the special districts to submit mill levies to the county. Until then, Kyle, though, they say if you submit something, you don't hear a response, just follow up again, be like, just circle them back.
Yeah. Send it to the top of the inbox, so to speak.
Exactly. It's important, though, because they get a lot of emails, I'm told, especially this year because of the special session in the state legislature.
Yeah.
There was a lot going on. There were a lot of emails back and forth. Some mill levies were changed. That's how they say this was missed.
All right, Mark Salinger, thank you. So Denver's going alone largely on the migrant crisis without substantial help from the state or surrounding cities. As Denver now shuts down shelters and encourages migrants to head elsewhere, legislators from other parts of Colorado say it's time for the state to pitch in.
We are not from Denver. We represent other areas across the state. This is an issue that is a statewide issue that affects us greatly.
Democratic representatives from Glenwood Springs and Adams County are proposing a statewide grant program to connect community organizations with funding for migrant services. It would cover things like intake, case management, employment authorization, and education. The bill's sponsors say it's about confronting this humanitarian crisis and trying to streamline the process for services statewide. The bill advanced last weekend over the objections of Republicans who suggested that this new program would attract criminals and terrorists.
Counterintelligence leaders who are warning about potential terrorist attacks being committed by criminals illegally entering the country through a soft invasion.
I do not want to live through another 9/11. I do not want to live through another attack on the soil. If you think that bad people do not take advantage of the laws of this country, you are fooling yourself.
That bill still faces a final vote in the House before it goes on to the Senate. State legislature has already rushed out more than $20 million in funding to schools that are welcoming migrant students. Denver public schools will receive the most funding. DPS has enrolled nearly 4,500 migrant students since October and says 85% of them are still with the district. Last week, district leaders said the number of new arrivals is slowing and that about 600 migrant students have left DPS as Denver tries to get migrants to move to other cities. how places police people who are sleeping outdoors because they don't have other shelter. That is at the center of a case now before the Supreme Court. Our Steve Sager looks at the implications for Denver and other cities in Colorado.
We'll hear arguments first this morning in case 23-175, City of Grants Pass versus Johnson.
A law in a town of 39,000 people, 1,200 miles away from Denver, is now going before the nation's highest court.
This case actually has a fairly narrow question.
Several people living in homelessness have challenged the town of Grants Pass, Oregon, over a camping ban, arguing the ban there violates the Constitution's ban on cruel and unusual punishment.
It's narrow in the sense that it would only apply at times and in situations where there are not enough beds available and not enough shelter available.
Farrell says in a city like Aurora, where a camping ban specifically spells out enforcement only when shelter beds are available, not much would change. But in cities like Denver and Boulder, where the shelter portion isn't specifically spelled out, a ruling could change the way things are enforced. The ACLU is suing the city of Boulder over their ban, claiming it's enforced regardless of shelter availability.
When there aren't enough places for people to go, we just don't have other alternatives.
Lisa Sweeney Moran is an advocate who was one of the original plaintiffs on that lawsuit.
If we say that it is illegal to camp outside, even when there are no shelters, I don't know what that means. I don't know what it means for people.
She fears the consequences if the court rules in favor of Grants Pass, predicting increases in the cost of policing and decreases in funding for services that make a difference.
It's money we could spend on housing. It's money we could spend on help. But instead of spending it on helping, we're spending it on shuffling a problem from one block to another.
So it'll be months before the court issues any kind of ruling in this case, but folks are already reading the tea leaves, so to speak. Some believe that the court will vote along those ideological lines with the majority in favor of that law in Grants Pass. Farrell says he heard justices skeptical of the law, so he predicts they may reach a narrower ruling without big impacts on the policy itself, Kyle.
Yeah, a couple of off-ramps that the justices could take if they don't want to go after this head-on.
You could take the necessity argument, the idea that you're not guilty of a crime if it was necessary for your survival. So in this case, if people have nowhere else to go and have to sleep outside, that would be the necessity argument. Farrell also says they could also take a look at the actual claimants in this case who have only been issued tickets. They haven't gotten to that arrest level yet. So technically it's not a crime or a criminal issue. And if you're trying to make a cruel and unusual punishment argument, it's going to be tough to do when it's just a civil matter.
Steve Sager, good to have you back around the old haunts here on Next.
Good to see you.
So after a month of holding up foreign aid to Ukraine, hardline Republicans in Congress lost that fight over the weekend. One member of the Colorado delegation, Democrat or Republican, voted against the aid packages to Ukraine, Israel, and Taiwan, and that was Republican Congresswoman Lauren Boebert. Boebert opposed the $60 billion for Ukraine, $26 billion to Israel, and with humanitarian aid for civilians in Gaza, and then $8 billion for Taiwan. Boebert and other members of the far-right Freedom Caucus voiced the strongest opposition for continuing aid to Ukraine. They've been trying to hold that up in exchange for funding border security. Boebert accused Republican House Speaker Mike Johnson and other Republicans who voted to support that aid package of caving to the Democrats.
This is embarrassing. Do we deserve the majority? I think our Republican platform and policies absolutely deserve to have the majority governing voice in our government. But unfortunately, we have leadership that capitulates to the Democrat majority in the Senate and to President Biden.
The strongest opposition to aid for Israel came from some Democrats, but all of Colorado's Democrats in the House voted to support the aid package for Israel. They now go on to the Senate, where it could pass as soon as tomorrow. I want to give you an update on your Word of Thanks microgiving generosity. Your recurring monthly gifts to the Word of Thanks Fund to go out to all of our nonprofits featured are nearing $20,000 a week. That is an amazing starting point for each of your weekly giving campaigns now. I should say last week you added on another $8,000 and change for the Alliance for Suicide Prevention of Larimer County, specifically for their work with families who have just lost someone to suicide. If you know of a nonprofit doing impactful work anywhere in our state, please email me about them. I read each and every email that comes to next@9news.com. Plans to sell off hundreds of grocery stores to win approval for a mega merger. It is a shortcut with very limited hours. The only local route through central Colorado, because the bridge closure is open just twice a day. And an Earth Day tradition in Castle Rock. Let them go, kids. That's Kroger and Albertsons are trying to convince federal regulators to approve their merger as it faces federal and state lawsuits. So those companies, which run King Soopers and Safeway here in Colorado, are offering to sell off dozens of additional stores. Regulators were worried that combined company would be too large. It would be a monopoly. The company said today that if the federal government approves their deal, they'll sell off 579 stores in markets where they overlap. The new proposal includes selling about 90 Safeway stores in Colorado to a third-party company, specifically the parent company of Piggly Wiggly, which our Georgia Born producer Mallory informs me is a very fine grocery establishment. I've never been inside one. It's about $1 billion more in investments than the original plan. FTC didn't like that one. They said it was inadequate. They're currently suing to stop the merger. Colorado's Democratic Attorney General Phil Weiser has launched a separate lawsuit to stop the merger. He thinks it would eliminate competition in Colorado, drive up grocery prices, and result in layoffs. Write into me about Piggly Wiggly. I'm totally ignorant. Road crews have opened up an alternate route for traveling between Gunnison and Montrose counties after shutting down a bridge with a crack in its steel over Blue Mesa Reservoir last week. But they're stressing that this new route is for locals only and only open a short time each day. There's still no timeline for when the Highway 50 bridge over Blue Mesa Reservoir will be cleared for use. CDOT shut it down after finding an issue in a steel support beam. And that's forced people traveling between Gunnison and Montrose to take detours of up to 7 hours. A seasonal access road, the Lake City Cutoff, opens for local traffic and emergency crews only today. It's an unpaved mountain road, and you can't just drive it whenever you want. CDOT's going to open it for a guided hour, once in the morning and once in the evening. Lauren Robinson, that is a crazy mess in a beautiful part of Colorado where there just really is not a great route other than US 50. And CDOT says don't go improvising this. They are going to put out like a pace car and guide people along that mountain road bypass once a day.
Yeah, it's one of those things that it may not be great, but you have to follow the safety protocols. We want to keep everyone safe. Now, we have a live look over downtown Denver. More cloud cover starting to creep in. Some areas seeing some very brief spotty storms, but the vast majority of us staying dry. 71 degrees at DIA, so still pretty warm. Winds coming in from the northwest at around 20 miles per hour. As we continue to monitor our HD Doppler radar, this is where we're seeing these very spotty light snow, rain showers and maybe some snow up in the high country. As a lot of this reaches its way across the plains, though, it's probably falling as virga, meaning it's evaporating before it's reaching the ground. We zoom into one area that did see a stronger storm earlier this evening. That's starting to fizzle out as it makes its way eastward. Other areas across the Front Range and Eastern Plains, just seeing these very light, shallow green spots, which means a lot of this probably isn't reaching the ground. A different story in the high country, but we are still seeing some very light rain and snow showers here and there. Nothing that's going to accumulate or even really bother the rest of your outdoor plans if you do have those today. By the time we wake up tomorrow, we will be seeing some cooler temperatures and another round of very spotty brief storms. None of the storms today or tomorrow are expected to become severe, though. So for today, northern portions of the high country, the northern half of the Front Range, and then central and northern portions of the Eastern Plains are under just a general thunderstorm risk. That means we're just looking for maybe some gusty winds, a couple of lightning strikes, some thunder. That's about it. Overnight, we're pretty mild. Most of us will see lows in the 30s and 40s, 50s out west. Tomorrow, with that weak cool front that's pushing through, it's going to drop our temperatures just a tad into the low 60s, which is actually seasonal for this time of year. We're going to watch for more chances for those brief spotty storms. We dry out and warm up Wednesday, approaching 80 degrees there, then more shower and storm chances late Thursday through early Sunday.
Does it tickle?
Well, only on the back of my hand.
You're watching preschoolers do their Earth Day duty. Next. "13,000 ladybugs might sound like an infestation, but they really are a godsend for the environment. Our Byron Reed takes us to a preschool in Douglas County for an Earth Day lesson.
Sometimes the best lessons to pass along can be learned in a preschool classroom.
Remember, vegetables go in compost.
The students at Maryhill Preschool in Castle Rock are getting an education that combines learning experiences to help them grow.
Our curriculum is play-based, and the kids see that curriculum all the way from infants all the way through pre-K.
When we go outside, stay in line until Miss Melanie tells you to split up, okay?
The school is teaching them the importance of the day.
Yes, we're celebrating Earth Day today.
By releasing about 13,000 ladybugs to help them learn about the environment. Does it tickle?
Well, only on the back of my hand.
The school says the ladybugs are a way to help protect their playground and local vegetation.
Because this is our future generation, and yeah, it's cool and it's fun to get to see them like learning live in action.
I got 5.
And for 5-year-old Bryn Austin,
Because I got 1 and then 3 and then 1 more.
the day was more than learning about math.
When they crawled on me, I did this because I didn't want them to crawl into my shirt.
Just seeing them and seeing their faces and them smiling so much when they see thousands and thousands of them, it's always so fun.
It's an assignment this school gives to students like Bryn
I see its wings.
to help them celebrate Earth Day and learn a lesson worth sharing.
That you shouldn't keep things on where there's not supposed to be, like trash, and not supposed to leave that on the ground.
For next,
I think these are great memories for them to have and to grow up just remembering something like this.
I'm Byron Reed.
Back with your feedback about the Piggly Wiggly. Thank you, DeMarco. And a birthday wish for an old frenemy of the program. Next. Want to take a moment to wish a happy birthday to an old friend or frenemy. Okay, actually, it was just a straight-up enemy there for a while, but we are cool with the A-line these days. Much love to our former producer, Lena, who made me the puffy shirt. The bottom of this says, I heart the A-line, is what it says. The train to the plane turns 8 today, so let's play that thing for old time's sake. Is the A-line working today? We haven't run this thing in years. Yes, it's like a birthday treat for us all. So these days, the A-line's been RTD's best on-time performer, 97% on time. You remember those early days, though? That was some rough stuff. The passengers getting stranded on overpasses, flaggers at the crossings because the feds didn't think that they operated safely. You had the horns blaring in the neighborhoods long after that was supposed to cease. RTD then fought off a lawsuit from its partner on the project. But all those are just distant memories for the train with no name. The University of Colorado's $1 million a year naming rights deal ran out. RTD couldn't find anybody willing to pay that to sponsor the train. Now, a couple of you have suggested that we should do a micro-giving campaign to raise money for the next A-line. Micro-giving is for nonprofits only. And the train to the plane, thankfully, is not a charity case anymore. Feedback from Chuck. A lot of you wrote in about the Piggly Wiggly. Feedback from Chuck, who says it is familiarly known as the pig, as in, I'm going to go to the pig to get some barbecue. Oh, are we going to show the A-line shirt? The bit's over. Okay, the bit's over. Elizabeth notes that there were actually Piggly Wiggly stores in Colorado in the 20s and 30s. And then they got absorbed, I guess, into the Safeway brand. And Roger says, in the 1970s, I worked for a local Piggly Wiggly and had the shirt that said, support your local Piggly Wiggly and eat like a hog. Producer extraordinaire Mallory, who is a Piggly Wiggly aficionado, tells me she in fact has those shirts as well. Personally, I like more of an understated shirt, but you all have a great night.